A training collar that's perfectly safe for a German Shepherd can genuinely injure a Chihuahua. I've watched it happen from the grooming table, and it's not pretty. My name is Jasmine Caldwell, and I've spent nearly a decade as a professional pet groomer working hands-on with dogs of every size, temperament, and coat type you can imagine. You're listening to Total Pet Parent Podcast. Quick heads up before we dive in. Everything you're about to hear, the research, the data, the script, all of it is written and verified by real people with real hands-on experience. The voice you're hearing is AI-generated, but the expertise behind it is completely human. I just want to be upfront about that. Now, if you've been listening for a while, thank you, seriously. It means a lot that you keep coming back. And if you're new here, welcome to the show. We drop new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, covering everything from training and nutrition to behavior and health. Today, we're talking about something that can make or break your training success with a small dog, and honestly, get it wrong, and you can hurt your dog. So let's jump right in. Welcome to Total Pet Parent. If you're thinking about using an e-collar on a small dog, what you're about to hear could save you from making a mistake that sets training back by months, or worse, genuinely harms your dog. I'm speaking from experience here, both professional and personal. I live with 4 rescue dogs, and my smallest, a 12-pound terrier mix named Pickle, taught me that equipment for small dogs isn't just miniature versions of standard gear. The engineering requirements are completely different. Let me start with something that might surprise you. The weight ratio between collar and dog matters way more than most people realize. A collar that represents 2% of a Labrador's body weight might be 8 to 10% of a toy breed's weight. Imagine wearing a 15-pound necklace all day. That's what we're talking about. Now, let's talk about physical size and fit requirements, because getting this right isn't just about comfort. It's about whether the collar can actually deliver consistent, safe contact with your dog's skin through their coat. Small dogs present unique challenges here. First, you need to measure your dog's neck at the widest point, usually right behind the ears, with a soft measuring tape. Add 1 inch for proper fit. Most small dogs range from 8 to 14 inches, but toy breeds like Yorkies may be as small as 6 inches. That measurement is your starting point for everything else. The metal contact points, those prongs that actually touch your dog's skin, should be what's called short-pronged for small dogs. We're talking 5/8 of an inch or less. Standard contact points designed for labs or shepherds can be an inch or longer. On a small dog, those will never reach the skin through the coat, or worse, they'll press too deeply and cause real damage. Here's something I see all the time at the grooming salon. The actual electronic unit, the receiver box, should be no larger than 1.5 inches square and weigh under 1.5 ounces for dogs under 10 pounds. I've seen trainers try to strap a 3-ounce receiver meant for hunting dogs onto a papillon, and the dog spent the entire session tilted sideways from the weight. It's not just uncomfortable, it's ineffective. The strap width matters too. Look for straps 3/4 of an inch wide or narrower made from coated nylon or biothane that won't mat the coat. Wider straps, designed for larger dogs, will cover too much of a small dog's neck and create pressure points. And that strap needs to adjust down to at least 8 inches with enough holes or adjustment points that you can position the receiver box at the top or side of the neck, not hanging underneath where it'll swing around. Pickle's collar has 12 adjustment positions in a 4-inch range, which sounds excessive until you're trying to center that receiver box precisely. One thing that'll make your life easier, standard snap buckles can be difficult to operate on wiggly small dogs. Look for magnetic or snap-away safety releases that you can operate one-handed while holding your dog still with the other hand. Here's where coat type comes in. Long-haired small breeds like Maltese, Shih Tzus, and Pomeranians need longer contact points than short-haired breeds of the same weight. A smooth-coated Min Pin might need 3/8 inch points, while a Yorkie needs 5/8 inch points to reach through that silky coat. Don't overlook waterproofing. Small dog collars should carry at least IPX7 waterproofing ratings. Why? Because many small breeds are lower to the ground and more likely to get wet bellies, chests, and necks during walks. I've replaced more small dog e-collars damaged by puddle splashing than I care to count. Moving on to weight and comfort parameters, because this is where things get critical. For dogs under 10 pounds, the complete collar system, that's receiver, strap, and battery combined, should weigh no more than 1.2 ounces. For dogs 10 to 25 pounds, keep it under 2.5 ounces. The receiver box should sit slightly off-center on the neck, at the 11 o'clock or 1 o'clock position rather than directly on top. This prevents the collar from rotating and keeps weight from pulling straight down on the windpipe. Small detail, big difference. Battery type affects weight more than you'd think. Rechargeable lithium batteries weigh less than replaceable coin cells. A small dog collar using a CR2032 battery might weigh 0.3 of an ounce more than an identical model with a rechargeable cell. When your dog weighs 7 pounds, that matters. Even properly weighted collars shouldn't stay on small dogs for more than 8 to 10 hours per day. The pressure points are more concentrated on smaller necks, and I've seen contact dermatitis develop after just a week of 24/7 wear. If you've got a breed prone to tracheal issues, Chihuahuas, Pomeranians, Yorkshire Terriers, toy poodles, you need collars under 1 ounce, and they should never have any downward pulling weight. Some veterinarians recommend harness-based systems instead, though those create their own training complications. Now let's get into stimulation levels and intensity settings, because this is where e-collars for little dogs differ most dramatically from standard models. The stimulation levels that barely register to a 70-pound Labrador can be intensely aversive, even harmful to an 8-pound Maltese. The collar must offer stimulation levels starting at 1 to 3 on a scale where the dog shows no physical reaction, no muscle twitch, no head turn. Many standard collars start at levels far too high for sensitive small breeds, and that's a non-starter. Look for collars with at least 20 to 30 individual stimulation levels rather than 10 or fewer. The finer gradation lets you find that precise working level where your dog notices but doesn't react with fear or stress. Here's how I test this, and yes, it sounds weird. I try collars on my own forearm. Good small dog models increase by such small increments that I can't clearly distinguish between consecutive levels. The jump between level 1 and level 2 should be barely perceptible. Small dog collars should cap maximum output at significantly lower levels than standard models. I can't cite specific voltage or milliamp numbers because manufacturers rarely publish them, but here's a rule of thumb. A collar marketed for dogs 5 to 100 pounds is almost certainly not appropriately capped for the small end of that range. Every e-collar for small dogs should include a vibration mode with no stimulation as an alternative attention getter. I've worked with several toy breed owners who never moved beyond vibration training because it was sufficient for their dog's temperament. And honestly, that's ideal. An audible beep that precedes stimulation lets dogs learn to respond to the warning instead of needing the correction. This matters more for small dogs because you have less room for error in training protocols. Cheaper collars deliver inconsistent stimulation as batteries drain. Small dogs are more sensitive to this variation, so look for models with a regulated output that maintains the same level 1 intensity whether the battery is at 100% or 20%. Now, safety features and fail-safes, because small dogs have less margin for error. A system malfunction or user error that would be uncomfortable for a Labrador could genuinely injure a 6-pound Yorkie. The collar should automatically stop stimulation after 8 to 10 seconds maximum, even if you're still holding the button. This prevents accidental continuous stimulation if you drop the remote or it gets triggered in your pocket. Look for remote controls with recessed buttons, safety locks, or 2-button activation requirements. I've seen too many collars go off in purses or pockets, and with small dogs, there's no room for oops moments. Both the collar receiver and remote should give clear advance warning 48 hours or more before batteries die. Stimulation levels can fluctuate dangerously as batteries drain if the system doesn't regulate output. For small dog training, you rarely need more than 300 to 400 yards of range. Shorter range systems, under 500 yards, often have more reliable signal quality and fewer accidental activations than half-mile-plus systems. Contact points should be stainless steel or surgical-grade metal. They resist corrosion better than plated metals. Small dogs have more sensitive skin and are more prone to contact reactions from corroded metal. Premium small dog collars include sensors that detect whether the contact points are actually touching skin. If they're not, the collar won't deliver stimulation. This prevents wasted corrections and confusion. If you're training more than one small dog, your system needs reliable individual dog targeting. I've heard horror stories of owners correcting the wrong dog because their dual collar remote didn't clearly indicate which button controlled which collar. Small dogs spend more time in climate-controlled environments and are more susceptible to temperature extremes. Verify the collar operates reliably in the temperature ranges where you'll actually use it, not just manufacturer-recommended ranges. Let's talk about training-specific considerations, because the technical specs matter, but how you'll actually use the collar in real training scenarios determines what features you truly need. Small dog training typically requires more precision than large dog training. Look for remotes where each function, tone, vibration, stimulation, has a dedicated button, rather than cycling through modes. Cycling wastes critical seconds when you're trying to mark a behavior. Each button press should deliver a brief pulse, under 2 seconds, rather than continuous stimulation. Small dogs learn faster from short, precise corrections than sustained pressure. Small dogs often move faster and more erratically than large breeds. Your remote needs to activate the collar within 0.3 of a second of pressing the button, or you'll miss the behavioral moment you're trying to address. Remotes designed for hunting or field work are often too large for one-handed operation while holding a small dog's leash. I prefer remotes under 4 inches long that fit completely in my palm. The remote should clearly indicate with an LED, vibration, or screen confirmation when it has successfully activated the collar. You need to know immediately whether your correction was delivered or if you had a signal failure. Some collars let you lock the stimulation to a specific level, so you can't accidentally dial it up during training sessions. This is invaluable for small dogs, where one level too high can create setbacks. The collar should remember your last used settings, stimulation level and mode, when you power it on. Having to reconfigure every time you put it on your dog creates opportunities for mistakes. Before you purchase or use any e-collar on your small dog, run through this quick verification. Does the collar weigh under 1.2 ounces for dogs under 10 pounds or 2.5 ounces for dogs 10 to 25 pounds? Are the contact points 5/8 inch or shorter for your dog's coat type? Do stimulation levels start at imperceptible intensity with 20+ incremental levels? Is the receiver box under 1.5 inches and positioned to prevent rotation? Does the strap adjust to fit your dog's exact neck measurement plus 1 inch? Does the auto shutoff engage after 8 to 10 seconds maximum? Does the remote include accidental activation prevention? Does the battery warning provide 48+ hours advance notice? Are vibration and tone modes available as alternatives? Are the contact points stainless steel or surgical-grade metal? Is waterproofing rated IPX7 or higher? Does the remote activate the collar within 0.3 of a second of button press? Let me address some questions I get all the time. What size e-collar do I need for a 10-pound dog? For a 10-pound dog, you need an e-collar system that weighs no more than 1.5 to 2 ounces total. Use contact points 5/8 inch or shorter, and make sure it offers stimulation levels starting at barely perceptible intensity with at least 20 incremental settings. The receiver box should be no larger than 1.5 inches square, and the strap should adjust down to accommodate your dog's neck measurement plus 1 inch for proper fit. Can shock collars hurt small dogs? Yes, they absolutely can if they're improperly sized, set to stimulation levels too high for the dog's weight and sensitivity, or used incorrectly. Small dogs require collars specifically designed for their size, with lower maximum output, shorter contact points, and finer stimulation gradations than standard collars. And even then, they should only be used under guidance from a professional trainer familiar with positive reinforcement first methods that incorporate e-collars as a communication tool rather than punishment. At what age can I use a training collar on a small breed puppy? Most veterinary behaviorists and professional trainers recommend waiting until small breed puppies are at least 6 months old and have reached close to adult weight before introducing e-collar training. Their nervous systems and skin sensitivity are still developing. Before that age, focus on positive reinforcement methods, using treats and toys to build foundation behaviors without correction-based tools. Here's my final thought on all of this. I test every collar recommendation against a simple standard. Would I put this on Pickle? My 12-pound terrier is reactive, sensitive, and has taught me more about training equipment than any certification course ever did. The e-collars for little dogs that meet these checklist requirements aren't the cheapest options, and they're not the ones marketed with photos of Labradors and German Shepherds. They're purpose-built for dogs who weigh less than a Thanksgiving turkey. The right collar becomes invisible during training. Your dog responds to your cues not because they're afraid of the equipment, but because you've built a clear communication system. The wrong collar creates fear, ruins your relationship, and sets training back by months.
From my grooming table, I can tell within 30 seconds whether a small dog has been trained with appropriately sized equipment or forced into gear meant for dogs 3 times their size. The ones wearing proper equipment hold their heads naturally, don't flinch when I touch their necks, and trust their owners. That's what this checklist is really about. Trust, built on equipment that fits your actual dog, not the marketing department's idea of one size fits all. That wraps up this episode of Total Pet Parent Podcast. Thanks for listening all the way through. New episodes come out every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so you'll never go more than a couple days without something new. If you found this episode helpful, I'd be really grateful if you'd leave a 5-star rating and write a quick review. I know that sounds like a standard ask, but it genuinely makes a difference. It's how other small dog owners who need this information actually find the show. And hey, hit subscribe or follow so you get notified the second a new episode drops. I'll see you in the next one.